Hey guys, and welcome back to Just Ask Jason, our Wednesday devotional here at Berean. This week, instead of just answering one question, we're just going to kind of do like a lightning round of really quick questions. And some of them deserve a longer answer, and maybe we'll do them a little bit later on. Some of them are just short little ones that frankly don't deserve their own video, so we're just going to do them real quick here. Hope you enjoy. So we're starting off with an easy one. Who is my favorite Christian preacher, theologian, and artist? My favorite Christian preacher is probably Craig Rochelle, although he has a little bit of competition now. I really like Albert Tate as well. My favorite Christian theologian, I'm going to go to England for this one. N.T. Wright is probably my favorite theologian. He does some amazing lay level work, so you don't have to think too hard to understand what he's saying, but what he's saying is usually really profound. And my favorite Christian artist, we actually did a video where I was being interviewed by one of the elders, and he asked me this question, and it's still the same. It's Chris Renzema. He's on Spotify. He's amazing. Just came out with a new album a couple months ago. Okay, best way to learn about the Bible. So for this one, I just have to say read, and not just read the Bible, although you should. You can't learn about the Bible without reading about the Bible, but read what other people have written about the Bible. Now curate your sources. Don't just hop on Bing and look up whatever, because you're just going to pull up a lot of really bad takes. But look for people who are respected in their field. I mean, people like Craig Keener, for example, is one name that I go to a lot. Ben Witherington the third, that is. Go to him a lot. Trimper Longman the third. He's another really great voice. So look for people who are really respected in their fields. If you don't know of anyone, your pastor probably does. So give me a call, or if you go to a different church, give your pastor a call. They can probably point you in the right direction and tell you names that you should look for. So read the Bible, read what other people have written about the Bible. And then the third step I'd say is just pray, think over it, look at different opinions, but then pray and look over it and try to come to a conclusion and acknowledge that no one's right about everything, especially when it comes to scripture. So you're probably going to be wrong about a few things. You're probably going to change your mind a few times, and that's fine. And I don't think God's going to come down from heaven and punish you just for being wrong, as long as you're trying to pursue the truth in his scripture. So as I was watching this video, kind of editing it and getting it ready, I realized I could have worded that last part just a little bit better. There are certain minimums of knowledge that Christians have to have, for example, that Jesus is the Son of God. We might should do a video over that at some point in the future, or maybe a sermon series or two. So that's something that we can touch on later, but it's just too much to do right here, right now. But yeah, there are certain bare minimums of knowledge. It's just a lot of the stuff that we argue about probably isn't that important in the long run. So this one's a little bit controversial right now. Is church online okay? Is just doing church online and not doing church in person okay? And I kind of have a two-part answer for this. The first part is just to say, especially during the coronavirus pandemic, if you have some sort of health issue, or if you're someone who has a really high risk of being exposed and you don't want to get other people sick, I do not blame you for not showing up to in-person services if you are not currently. It's probably a responsible thing to do, and I understand that we're in a very strange time that kind of changes and bends the rules. But outside of the pandemic situation, if the coronavirus wasn't a thing right now, then is it okay to just do church online and be like, this is the way I'm going to do it forever? I don't think so. And here's why. You can form relationships with people online, and there's some churches that are doing a wonderful job of discipling people online, but there's a certain level of intimacy that you can only have with someone if you see them face to face, at least occasionally. I mean, when we marry someone, we don't marry someone, move to different states, and then only see each other through Skype. Normally, we move in with one another and we spend a lot of time together, because the highest form of intimacy is found when you're living with someone. And I think the same kind of principle applies for the church. In-person church is better simply because we get to see people face to face. We get to form relationships. It's also why it's really important to not just attend Sunday service, but be in some sort of small group environment, because you need friends. And whether that small group's a Bible study or just a group of guys that go out rafting together, or a group of ladies that get together and just like have dinner or coffee or something, whatever it is, just having those close friendships is super important to growing not only more engaged in the church, but also understanding scripture better. Because where a handful of Christians are gathered together, there can be some wonderful conversations about the Bible and about how it applies to your life. And it doesn't feel forced and awkward like it sometimes does in other settings. So church in person is definitely better. But church online is a great substitute if you're traveling, if you're sick, or if we're just in a really weird time like right now where there's a pandemic and we aren't really sure about, is it safe to be out? Is it not? So church online is good. Church in person is better. I think that the church needs to provide education, but also needs to value higher educations. Here's what I mean. There are exceptions, but for the most part, your preacher should have at least an undergrad. Now, there are exceptions. There are some wonderful preachers that just like have some terrific life experience and great training, and they had wonderful mentors. So they don't have a degree, but they're every bit as knowledgeable, or in a lot of cases, way more knowledgeable than like I am, for example. But in a lot of cases, someone's like, hey, I want to go into ministry. The logical first step is go get an undergrad or go get a master's in something theological. Just because having that knowledge is something that's very, very helpful. Besides, it's something that God programmed into us. He created us to learn, so why not take advantage of it? As far as the church itself, like the church has to teach people. People have to learn. But it's not the only thing the church does. The church is also a place for community. The church is also a place for support, both physical and emotional. The church is also a place for worship, not just music worship, but for all forms of worship. And it's a place of prayer. So the church is a lot of things, but one of those many roles is essentially being a school that just teaches people the things of God. So education and the church are integrally tied, and they always will be, and they always should be. All right, and ending up on one that's a little more personal, what's something that I love and something that I hate about Bible college. Something that I love about Bible college, kind of like I said before, I think that education is just like a necessary thing for being a preacher, whether it's a formal education or an informal education. So I definitely love just being able to spend 4 years of my life and just learn about, like, this is how you preach, this is how you run a church, and this is how you read the Bible. That's a privilege that a lot of people don't have. So I really value that. Something I hate about Bible college, I'm kind of a rebel, and Christian colleges have a lot of rules. The rules and I did not always agree. And some of those people who were in charge of disciplinary matters did not always agree with my interpretation of the rules either. But luckily, I kept myself from getting in too much trouble over my 4 years. But definitely my least favorite part of Bible college, too many rules, man. So that's just me. That's just me personally. It's not an indictment on the system. That's just where I'm at. And that's it. That's our whole lightning round. Go ahead and subscribe to us if you haven't, right below, or there should be a subscribe button on the screen, hopefully. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, go to our webpage, and if you're in the Murfreesboro area, we would love to have you. We are now offering kids class during our 10:30 service. If you don't have kids K through 5, feel free to come to the 9 a.m. service, or if you just want to make your kids sit next to you, they can come to whichever service they want. We are looking forward to seeing you. We would love having you here. And remember, we are social distancing, wearing masks, and sanitizing in between services. We love you. We're rooting for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today.